Hey guys, in this episode of Driver Spotlight, we speak with Jake Porter. Jake Porter is a friend of ours. We've raced with him previously at Daytona. He currently is racing in Eastern Canada in the SPC series in a new car to him and a new racing team that he has started. Let's hear what he has to say. Okay. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Not too bad, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about you? What makes Jake Porter Jake Porter?
All right. Yeah, I'm Jake Porter, up in Canada, currently living in Kingston, but I've moved fairly extensively. Both my father and myself were military, so fair amount of moving around to be done. Born actually in British Columbia, so Canada's California, I guess, but
Yeah, pretty
rainier and
much.
colder. Um, but grew up most of my life in Ontario, and I've just recently moved to Kingston from Quebec City last year. So, getting settled into this area, and yeah, that's pretty much what makes Jake Porter Jake Porter.
All
Other than,
right.
I guess, our new puppy we got, Shelby, who's running around and being a little bit of a terror. But
What kind of dog is it?
she's a full size poodle with a Bernese Mountain Dog, so they call it a
Okay, wow.
Bernedoodle. She'll be
So
about 80,
large
90
dog.
pounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
She's 3 months old and she's taller than my knee, so
That's awesome.
it's coming along.
Um, quick question. So, when it comes to motorsports,
Yep.
how did you get started? Is this something that like was your family, like was your dad, your mom, was like anybody in your family into motorsports, or are you like first generation like hardcore motorsports guy?
Um, First generation hardcore motorsports guy. My
Yeah.
my mother's maiden name is McLaren, and her father was a big Bruce McLaren fan and then a big
Okay.
Gilles Villeneuve fan, but tended to always go for the guys who don't last very many seasons, I guess. And other than that, there was no real motorsport interest. We didn't have a whole lot of money growing up,
Okay.
and moved a lot. But my brother actually had some health issues when he was born, so I spent kind of 2 years basically living in hospitals when he was there. And my dad would try to carve out time for me, and the only thing that I seemed interested in was the little dinky cars. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'd it was within his budget. We'd walk out and go get those and play with those in the hospital or at home. He took me go-karting as often as he could, but more just like rental kart stuff.
Okay.
Um, and then I also joined the army, and it was about, I don't know, started simmering, well, a lot of Gran Turismo growing up, and
Yeah.
then got
Same.
a
Same.
wheel and everything.
Yeah.
Started doing a lot of that. And then I think it was during the pandemic or just before the pandemic when I called, Sarah, my partner, was like, "You talk about it all the time. You watch it on TV all the time. You're always on your bloody games. Why don't you just go and do it? You've got enough disposable income to at least give it a try." And I don't think she realized the beast she created with that.
So did you start like at a lapping day? Is that how you got started? Like what was your
No,
first intro to driving a car on track?
on track, I called. Well, I mean, my dad made me when I was a kid. He made me do like a 2-day rally school because we lived on
Oh, that's
gravel
cool.
roads,
That's
and I
cool.
learned
Yeah.
how to drive on a manual car. Had a 1992 Civic, the four-door sedan, not the cool one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and But realistically, on track circuit racing, I called Travis at Tooth
Okay.
and went out there in. It was right before I went to Iraq, so that would have been in May of 2021,
Yeah.
in Miata 4-1, and did a lapping day basically in that,
Okay.
with Rowan doing lead follow with a group of three guys and three other guys. And
Yeah.
at the end of that, they said, "Yep, you can come back next year." And I did. When I got back from Iraq in January, I set up to do Miata season with Tooth at Calabogie. So the eight
Okay. So
eight
you
race
went
season.
like straight into racing almost. Like you did a little bit
Yeah.
of lapping coaching with Tooth, but so you did like you skipped straight into finding kind of an established racing team and getting into racing that way. So how did you first of all like hear about Tooth and Travis and those guys? Like how did you pick up the phone and call them? Did you know them beforehand or?
No, that came through Operation Motorsport. So I'm
Okay.
not sure if they've come up on here before, but Operation Motorsport, founded by Diesel and Tiffany. Diesel and I served together when I worked at the parachute school,
Okay.
and he was looking for help. We chit chatted a few times, so I was volunteering with Opmo with the time I had, um, and he's the one that introduced me to Travis.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I never did any right seat coaching. And it came up partway through the season when I went to do the Calabogie Spring Classic that I didn't have any sort of school license or anything. So
Right.
had to rapidly get that sorted out. And then I ended up doing my only school time. I ended up doing down at Sonoma with
Okay.
Skip Barber to get an SCCA national license. When I wanted to do the Race of Remembrance in Wales with Operation Motorsport, and originally they wanted an FIA International C license, which
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's not going to be a thing.
A bit of overkill
But the
maybe for that
only,
race also.
yeah, to basically do it was in essence a champ car race. But
Yeah.
the national sanctioning body for Canada, the only national series, and you needed to do 3 observed events, was SCC and Sports Car Championship of Canada and Radical Championship of Canada, both with a $25,000 a weekend budget.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't in the cards for me, so I went the SCCA route and got my license there.
Nice, nice. Okay, so you're starting Miata racing at Calabogie in the Miata Challenge,
Yep.
and what happens from there? So you do that first. You did a full season of
Did a
that.
full season, finished fifth in our, because M1, M2, so fifth in
Yeah,
M2, like the rookie class basically. And then I had a bit of like a little bit of soul searching to do because I didn't want to be, it was in my budget. Tooth was very good at taking care of me. Um, but I didn't want to get good at driving a Miata around Calabogie.
yeah,
If I
yeah,
want to be a race car driver, you got to get in different types of cars. You got to
yep,
get in on different circuits. So the first step into a different type of car was your Civic. We did a Lucky Dog race at Calabogie. Um, Hunter and I, you know Hunter quite
yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Hugh Leahy and Lissandro, and now Hunter and Lissandro are working together again.
IndyCar, yeah,
Yeah, in Indy, and James Beach, who stayed out of the wall on that one. So we did that Lucky Dog, and that was my first experience with endurance racing. And I quite enjoyed the endurance racing aspect because there's a lot more strategy to it, right? When you're doing a
Mhm.
30-minute sprint race, you're just flat out the whole time. There's strategy in your racecraft, how you defend and attack, but there's
Yeah,
there's not the big team aspect that there is with endurance racing. So that kind of gave me the bug for that. So the following year, I did Daytona with you and Claire,
yep,
um, and then I did Watkins Glen in May, I believe it was that year, and then I deployed again. So I got I got sent away again.
yeah,
But fortunately, I was able to. While I was away, I was still able to set my leave up so I could go to the Race of Remembrance. So I could do that in Anglesey in Wales. So 12-hour race there, very multi-class. Like Champ Car is multi-class enough. This was
yeah,
like you had everything from caterhams, like those little like
yeah. Like open
Lotus looking things,
wheel looking. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Yeah.
open like tube cars.
No, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Lotus Elise, all the way down to these little Citroens, which are like smaller than Nissan Micra. So
That's
it was
crazy.
interesting.
Well, how many cars are on track at the same time for that race?
It's got to be at least 60 at the
Okay,
start.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because in Champ Car, like I know, like you and I've raced together. Obviously, at Daytona Champ Car, and
Mhm.
some of the races I've done around here, like Sonoma with Lucky Dog, not Lucky Dog, sorry, actually with Lucky Dog as well. But I was thinking of is Lemons, and like the fields can be like 100 plus, right? Like I think we
Yeah.
raced like Sonoma it was like 130 something drivers. Daytona and Champ Car tends to sell out. That's usually what 100, 120 cars. Like
110, I
it's
think, when we did Daytona, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
their
yeah. It's
biggest year.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How
And
would you compare
you'd
like the
think on
driving
nose
between
to
them?
tail they wouldn't fit, you know?
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So you told me that it's funny. How do you compare the driving or like maybe the racing between? Because you've now raced obviously in Canada as we discussed, the U.S. as well, and then in Wales. Is it all pretty much the same thing? Just like once you're on track, it's all the same thing. Or are there actual differences in racing in the different countries? And if they are, like what are they?
I would say it's quite similar, at least
Yeah.
Canada and the US. Britain, they're a lot stricter on licensing,
Okay.
but um, I didn't see the skill level being terribly different. There
Yeah.
were the same kind of foolish mistakes or unforced errors. At the same time, there were some amazing moves done by people who've been doing it a lot. I mean, the Brits are spoiled. They've got 15 great tracks all within a three
Yeah.
hour drive. So I don't know, they're a bit snobbier about it, that's for sure.
Is it easier to get a
Racing with
license there?
practice.
Do you know if it's easy to get a
It
license there?
probably is. So you do a thing through BRCC. Anyway, their sanctioning
Yeah,
body.
yeah.
They call it an ARDS test. So you go out and you sit right seat with somebody, and the example I read was Silverstone. You have to get a certain lap time, and they have a
Okay,
wet and a dry time, and you have to go out and do it in a certain time safely, react to your flags and everything. Um, but that's only open for British passport holders. Like I'm
I
sure
see.
you or I could go there and do it, but they changed the
Yeah.
rule. Basically, I think, and this is just speculation. Well, it's something I heard, but I don't have the proof behind it. I think the
Hmm.
FIA kind of got on them to change that because a lot of people were abusing it, flying in, do a weekend,
Doing this
get your
test or
thing, and
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
got a national license, and you go right. So um, they do have the same observing thing that we do, where you have like your novice sticker and stuff like that. But I
Hmm.
don't think Race of Remembrance was a high enough class of it was considered a club race, so you didn't need to follow those parameters.
Yeah.
And Race of Remembrance was really cool because they had guys, medically discharged British veterans, some of them with no legs or
Hmm.
one arm, adapted cars. So it's really good to see them out
That's really
there.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. But the licensing stuff, like I feel like that sounds similar to like coming to the US, like what you did, and I did exactly the same thing, by the way. Uh, Getting our SCCA full competition license via a single weekend at a competition school. Now, I think technically, I think when you do like the Skip Barber, like if you're very green, like you've never raced before, it's actually like a 4 day
It's a
plus or
5 day
2 day,
course,
five
a three
day.
and a
Yeah,
two. Yeah.
3 days. Yeah, it's some number of days where I think I did. I jumped straight to like the second, like the
Yeah.
2 day, and Claire did the same based on having had some racing experience before.
I did
So
the
from
same. I had to
yeah,
send like racing resume kind of.
yeah. So from that perspective, it's very much like, and I'll be honest, like the school was great. Skip Barber was great. I actually learned a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
But I mean, as long as you do the school and you're not a moron, like as long as you drive fairly safely, it's pretty easy to get a license. Like I would say,
I
the
would
only
say
thing,
so.
the barrier is money. Like you got to pay for the
Yeah,
weekend. It's not cheap. Yeah, exactly. It's
especially as a
not cheap.
Canadian with the exchange rate, it's pretty cost prohibitive. And then it's what works with your schedule. I mean, Lime Rock's a lot closer for me, but
Yeah.
it just didn't work in my schedule, and I had to fly down to California, uh, experience the Tenderloin and all that stuff. But
I was gonna say like I feel like we can't skip over this story because it's so wild. Your helmet getting stolen and
yeah,
recovered story. If we can go through
yeah,
that very quickly, that is just an insane story that happened when you came to Sonoma to do this racing school.
yeah, absolutely. So I stayed in San Francisco at the time, decent little boutique hotel, and I'd kept my car parked on the street the entire time, had no issues. Went up and back to Sonoma every day. Well, every day, 2 days, two whole
Yeah,
days. Came back, had another night in San Francisco, and but the hotel wouldn't let me store my bags in the hotel because it was one of
which is
those little
weird.
like it's pretty small. It wasn't
Okay.
like a Best Western or whatever the hell, right? It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
something right downtown. And I walked all around the city, did my tourist thing, video chatted with Sarah saying like, "Oh, you'd love this place. San Francisco's great." Went and saw the seals, got a big bag of that taffy stuff you guys love,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
saltwater taffy and all that stuff for her. And came back, stuffed that inside my helmet bag because I was like, that's a perfect place for it. And then I had my car with my bags in it all day. I decided to go get a coffee before I went to the airport. So I left it in the same underground it had been in, got out of
yeah,
the car, went down, got a coffee, and in the 5 minutes I was gone, someone had busted the back window out, left my luggage, thankfully, but took my helmet, unthankfully, which was not
yeah,
ideal. Um, so then, I had about 3 hours before my flight. So there I am, fuming, angry
yeah,
that someone would have the audacity. And as a Canadian, we have homelessness crisis in Canada as well, especially now. Um, but I did not understand the situation I'd found myself in, so um, I ran down to the security lady. She saw the guy on camera, so now I knew what he looked like.
yeah,
So I jumped in the car and called Sarah because I had to vent to somebody. So she's on speakerphone while I'm driving through the Tenderloin looking for this guy.
And by the way, just for those who don't know, like the Tenderloin in San Francisco is like the sketchiest area of San Francisco. Like you probably wouldn't want to walk alone at night in a Tenderloin on
I
basically any
wouldn't walk
time, really.
alone in the daytime once I
In the
came back to
daytime,
the
yeah,
US.
it is not a pleasant place.
Yeah. So Sarah's, back here back in Quebec,
Yeah,
talking to me on the phone, and she's like, "So what's your plan? You're driving around in a rented SUV. You still got most of your luggage. You've got no back window. You're driving
yeah,
through," and she's Googling a district of San Francisco with 100,000 homeless people in it. Do you think they're
yeah.
gonna just let you go up to the guy and demand your helmet back? What's your plan here? Just drive to the airport, you idiot. So
Yeah.
I do drive to the airport, explain what happened there. They were cool about it. They didn't charge me for the window or anything. They're like,
Oh,
ah,
that's awesome. That's awesome, actually. And they're
yeah,
probably used to it, but also awesome on their part.
yeah. But I mean, I learned a lesson there is to always rent a car, like a sedan with a proper trunk, because what's not
Yeah,
seen will be stolen, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, they were really cool about it. I take my flight back home, and then that was March, and then it's I don't know, October, November, and I was deployed. I'm overseas. And I got a message from a guy I know in Quebec. He's like, "Hey, this helmet, does the radio thing work?" He found my helmet on eBay, right? And I was like, "What?" So
So so just a quick comment there, interrupt you, but like the reason why, like one of the reasons you knew is your helmet, like your helmet was custom painted, like it actually is
yeah,
very like recognizable Canadian, like very Canadian colored themed, a
yeah,
beautiful helmet, by the way. So like for sure, if
shipped
anybody would
over.
have, yeah, it's a beautiful helmet. But if for sure, if it popped up for sale, it was impossible that there would be a second of this helmet out there, right?
Yeah, so he sends me this message. So I got in contact with the seller, and I'm like, "Listen, mate, um, I don't know your business model, but I know what the penal code says about possession of stolen goods. So I'm going to need that
Yeah,
back. But I'm going to be a solid dude, and I'm going to send you $600 for it. Just get
yeah.
it shipped." And actually, Trevor Hill, they have a Tooth has a USPO box, so he got it shipped there, and they picked it up for me. But yeah, so it went missing, and 6 months later, popped up on the internet. So just kids, the internet never forgets. I guess
Just
it's
check eBay. Just check
yeah,
eBay. I mean, what are the odds? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, to me, it's crazy. And I remember you messaged us knowing that we lived here because I remember
yeah,
you messaged us and I messaged the seller, I think, at that point. Or maybe
yeah.
Trevor messaged me. I'm not sure. Either you or Trevor, someone messaged me. I reached out to the seller and I was like, hey, can I come by and like pick up this helmet? Like for my buddy, it's his buddy, it's a whole story. And then I don't know what ended up happening, but he stopped talking to me. And I guess he was talking to Trevor directly or you, or I don't know how it all
You got
happened
pretty
after that.
sketched
But
out, I think. And I mean, I get it. You got like three guys jumping
yeah,
all over you. But
yeah,
if you're gonna
exactly.
be blogging stuff on eBay, this is gonna come up, right? It's just the nature of the beast. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so I
Anyway,
found it.
crazy.
San Francisco almost cost me a painted helmet as well, but in the end, it did not. I mean, it kind of did because I had to buy a new one when I got home, but because we
And you
were
got it
going
painted the
full
same, right?
internet, I painted the
Or
same.
no?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Uh,
That's cool.
so now I have a duplicate. That's the one Sarah was using when we were refueling
Yeah.
in 24 hours of VIR.
Yes, sir. I remember that. I remember that. Okay, so now coming back to you racing. So you did a sprint racing. You hooked up with Tooth. You've done some endurance racing. You've now raced in like 3 countries,
Yeah.
maybe more that I'm not aware of. And then all of a sudden, you decide that you're going to want to stop doing the whole arrive and drive program, and you want to actually start building your own race team. So first of
Yeah.
all, why? And second of all, how? Like, how does it all come to be?
Just give me one quick sec.
Yep.
Um, I'm thinking about it. Um,
Take your time.
so why? So to prove I could, I guess. If you want to really drill down to the why,
Yeah.
uh, part of it was I'm 5 years from retirement from the military, kind of wondering what I'm going to do. Love racing. Um, had made really good friends with other ex-military folks, and Mark Kelly, who you know well.
Yep.
And we just kind of had this crazy idea that let's do it ourselves. So, I bought a car sight unseen while I was overseas.
Yeah.
Uh,
As
it,
one does.
as one does. It got delivered to Mark Kelly. He did a once over on it. We took it to Calabogie. You guys were there as well.
Yeah, we were there. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
did the PTGT race with it, and then we decided, well, we had to do an SCCA race to maintain our licenses. So
Okay.
uh, we decided, you know, why not do a 12-hour road trip to Connecticut with this car in October when it was freezing. Like it was about 0 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure in freedom degrees, but
That's about 32 freedom units.
okay,
Yeah.
32 units of democracy.
Correct.
So
Exactly.
we headed down south where it should have been warmer, but it wasn't. Froze for the entire weekend. Blew up fourth gear in the first practice. Just didn't
Dude,
have it.
there's something about fourth gear in those trainings. So we have a similar car. I think it's the same
Yeah,
car. Yours is a four door, right? I think. Or
mine's the four door.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, we have similar Civics, and so we blew a fourth gear at Calabogie, and we just blew a fourth gear at Daytona a few weeks ago. So it seems to me like the fourth gear on those transmissions is seems like it's the weak point, but
I think it's just if you really think about it, it's the one you use the most,
yeah,
right? Like it you're in a pretty slow corner if you're using second. And
yeah,
even
three
then it's
four. I think
often
three four
worse than
five is
second.
like yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah,
And yeah, so we blew up fourth gear and third wasn't happy. I don't know how many of your audience are familiar with Thompson. But it's not the highest speed circuit, but
yeah,
we had second and fifth, and we had to we had to complete at least we had to take the green and the checkered cleanly for the three races between Hunter and I to maintain our license. So
right.
turns out those Civics, if you chuck them into a corner faster than you should to try and keep in VTEC and fifth, they more
Yeah.
or less stick. You might have to counter steer a bit, but
Top tip for
yeah.
your Civic drivers out there.
If it's a tight corner, but it's not quite tight enough for second, you're gonna bog down and get passed by an RX-7 and hate yourself for a second, and then you'll fly by it again. It's fine,
Right, right.
once you get back into VTEC. But yeah, so we did that, learned a lot from that, and then we've spent the winter kind of prepping the car. So after Connecticut, you know, transmissions are right off because
Yeah.
we were putting those Valvoline squeeze bags. We were putting one of those through for every 30 minutes on track, trying to make it less shiny. The case is all cracked and everything, so that's gone. We'd identified a bunch of issues with the wiring in the car. And just like it was an older dash in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a car that was originally built by Compass 360 for the old Canadian Touring Car Championship.
Okay. Yep.
So the cage is overbuilt. It actually took the SCCA guys a while to drill through it to get a measurement. But yeah, the cage was overbuilt, but body was a bit rough. Anyway, so we spent the winter getting it refreshed and ready, and just kind of had this crazy idea that we do the Super Production Challenge this year. Um, as a new team, it's a 15 race series, but it's 5 weekends. So
Okay.
for scheduling for me with my full-time job and for the
Yep.
other guys, it's easier to commit to. They're spread out decently. We have one race this coming weekend, one in June, and then two in August and one in September. So it spreads out nicely
Okay.
the calendar. Um, so we decided to do that because it's kind of now that the Sports Car Championship of Canada is not running this year,
Yeah.
it is kind of our only national sports car-ish series going on. In fact, a lot of the TCAs that we're running in SCC have come across to
Which makes
SBC for
sense.
yeah.
And how does the classing work? Is that power to weight ratio? Like, what's the classification like in that
It's
series?
power ratio. Power ratio determines your class, so it's 200 horsepower up to 200 horsepower is production class.
Okay.
Sorry, like 120 to 200 is production class, and then there's the
Yeah.
micra class or the compact class. It's like Echoes and Micras. I
Yeah.
think they're sub 120, and then 200 to 300 horsepower is super production. But then
Okay.
there's a power to weight ratio as well. In fact, we're going to have to. Fortunately, the car came delivered with a 32-gallon endurance tank.
Hmm.
We need to ballast with fuel. We're 10 pounds under for our power right
Okay.
now. So we're gonna have to ballast with fuel just because we didn't have time to install steel ballast, but that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a weight
Cool.
thing. Or 10 pounds. It's easy to make up. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm heavier than Jason, so just
So
weigh it with me in the car.
who's all driving?
So it's me, and for this round, for the first round and the final round in Mont Tremblant, Jason Bivens will be joining us.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no Jason through Operation Motorsport as well. Did the Race of Remembrance with him. He lives down in LA, so down your way.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have I've been yeah we've been chit chatting on Instagram, but I didn't know he lived out here. You probably told me. I just I'm sure I've
yeah,
forgotten. Yeah. All right,
yeah.
that's cool. And then is Hunter driving? I know Hunter's part of the team. Common
Hunter
friend of ours.
would be driving if he wasn't with IndyCar, and
Oh, that's right. Of
Hunter's
course, being all
he's our
important in
engineer.
IndyCar. Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? Our engineer.
Yeah.
So, I managed to get an IndyCar systems engineer to
That's
work on
pretty
the team.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For a first year team, that's pretty impressive.
Not bad, not bad. Poach some talent,
Yeah. Exactly.
But he's doing his engineering primarily remotely. I think the only event he's going to be able to physically and be in person is the final race at Mont Tremblant, because he
Okay.
just the IndyCar season, he's down, and we're trying not to bother him right now with the Indy 500 coming
Yeah.
up. He's sent us a setup to set up, and we're leaving him
Just gonna
alone. He would be
you're
our
just gonna
My
set it
Races
and
guy.
forget it.
Yeah. I mean, at that point,
Cool.
he's just going to tell me it's driver error anyway, not to be a bitch ass. So.
That's cool though. Okay, so what are some of your the biggest challenges you've run into in building your own team, or maybe I'll phrase it differently and maybe it's a different question, but it's like, what would you do differently if you were to start over today and you were to start building your team again from scratch? Are there some things that you're like, yeah, I would definitely change that? That was a pain in the ass, or like, is there, or are you
Yeah.
so far so good? Like you're perfectly happy with how things have been going?
So far, not so good. So far, we're on
Yeah.
track tomorrow morning, and we have at the cars at the dyno with a faulty throttle position sensor, and I got guys
Perfect.
running over to try and pick one up.
Got it.
So far, not so good. What would I do differently? Have a billionaire daddy, I guess.
Yeah, that would be nice. I
I
think
mean,
most of us
budget's
would
always
like
going to
that.
be right? Budget's always a factor. Um, probably Probably wouldn't have let the car sit in storage in Montreal for 6 months before getting it shipped to Markelly,
Yeah.
um, to get eyes on it. So we basically lost 6 months of prep time,
Yeah.
while it just sat in storage.
Mm.
Um, what else would I do differently? Prioritize work better. Start looking for sponsors earlier. It's
Yeah.
it's a bloodbath out there. And you just gotta, if anyone's thinking of doing this, shoot your shot, but expect to receive one reply for every 20, 30 emails you send out. What I did that actually worked for the local businesses around Kingston that we have, so Watson Bain Vinyl, they're a wrap company.
Mm-hmm.
What I did to secure their sponsorship was showed up in person with my presentation.
That's
Um,
cool. It's a good idea.
just go door to door salesman, get ready to
Yeah.
get the door slammed in your face,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but yeah, I would try to secure sponsorship earlier. Um, Probably, I now have a much better idea of the budget for prep, because the budget for the whole season was about 60,000 Canadian, and
Mm-hmm.
we probably put 40,000 into the car. Um,
Before you started racing.
you need a
Yeah.
new dash, because it needs to be a data logging dash, so that's $4,000 right there.
Yeah.
And for the data logger, and then the data logger won't talk to our 20-year-old Honda. So then you got to buy this other $600 component from AIM, because their $4,000 dash doesn't come with all the things it needs to work. And
Obviously. Yeah.
it can be a bit heartbreaking sometimes, a bit soul crushing.
Yeah.
But you just kind of keep your head in it, keep working away, and much like when we did the 24 hours of VIR together. We went down there with there was five of us and Sarah, right? Five
Yeah.
drivers and Sarah, and we pulled it off, right?
I mean,
Lots
that
of
was the
people
most
don't,
perfect race. That was crazy.
right? All it cost us was what, a passenger mirror
Yeah.
on
I
your
don't know
end.
who I don't know who did that, but
Yeah, I taped it back on, and
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was the machine ran faultlessly, and then unfortunately blew up the next time. But I mean, that's just
It
racing
happens.
too,
That's
right? Like
racing. Yeah,
things like the
exactly.
throttle position sensor shit in the bed. Excuse me, crapping the
That's
bed
right. Yeah,
tonight
yeah.
where we're going on
Yeah.
track. It's just better now than tomorrow, I guess, but
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
ideal.
Not ideal. Okay, I wanted to touch really quickly on sponsorship. I think that's like a it's a topic that I personally am not like super familiar. I've never gone to look for sponsors, but I do see how people come knocking on our door for sponsorship. Um, how successful have you been? So I know you've talked about going door to door with some local companies, but like how successful have you been at actually getting either just hard cash to help you with your racing or services in lieu of some sort of sponsorship opportunity through the racing team?
So cash, okay, in my very limited experience of doing this.
Yeah, you're brand
Um,
new. This is yeah. No,
yeah,
this is a good perspective though, because I think a lot of people are probably in the same shoes that you were maybe like a year ago, where you're like, I'm gonna do this myself, but I need more money. So sponsorship, that seems obvious, it seems easy, but then it's not. This your perspective is actually gonna be super useful, I think, to a lot of people.
yeah, okay. So I would say start with what you need. So we needed a wrap on the car. Didn't have the budget for a wrap. Started looking at wrap shops. Even with sponsorship, didn't really have the budget for a wrap, but we got the vinyl for uh, a significant discount. And
Yep.
basically, whenever we need new vinyl, if we bring on a new sponsor mid-season, they'll fire us off the vinyl, no problem, as they're one of the sponsors of the team. Then we needed, you know, trying to think of other examples. We tried to go to Kingston Honda because Super Production Challenge does have a dealership championship. So there's the
Okay.
drivers championship, manufacturers championship, and dealership. Because one of the big sponsors of the series is Lombardi Honda,
Mm-hmm.
um, big in Quebec. So they're trying to encourage other dealers to help people out. And one of the rules of the series is the car has to have been for sale no more than 15 years ago. So to try and keep it more recent. So this
Fairly
this
current.
car
Yeah.
has only
Yeah.
got 2 years left in it because then they changed the body style. Um, that didn't work out. It was going well. It was going well. It was going well. Didn't happen. That one
Right.
was more of a money sponsorship than I was asking for, rather than a things sponsorship.
Okay.
Um, and then my races, you guys,
Yep.
we have you as a sponsor, and I think that one. The key is, the key is you got to have. Don't make the mistake of going and asking for help with something because nobody's out there to give you charity, right? And
Yeah.
and funnily enough, the companies like that it would make absolutely no difference to give you $10,000 for a racing
Yeah.
season are the
Yeah.
exact companies that don't even want to listen to you, right? Like
Yeah. Which
don't even
makes
want to
sense.
see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your mom and pa shops in your local town, as long as you can tie it to somehow they'll benefit,
Yeah.
um, are really your best bet because they can use it as their marketing budget. SPC is not televised. It is like radio streamed, but that doesn't help. That doesn't
They
help.
do put stuff
They
on
do
YouTube,
some
right?
YouTube. They do
Yeah.
some YouTube
Yeah.
stuff, and they're working on that, especially now that they're kind of the premier series in Canada for this. But the the eyes on at the track is always valuable. But also
Hmm.
think, if I could give a piece of advice to a fellow racer,
Yeah.
just don't compete for resources in Kingston because I need all the ones I can get. But also, um, think about a product you could sell to another team in the paddock,
Hmm.
right?
I like that.
So
Yeah.
my races, you guys, for example, firstly, it's going to help us promote ourselves to get eyes on the car and on the team for sponsorships going forward.
Yeah.
It fell through. I'll readdress it in the middle of the season, but we had a local bar and restaurant here, and we were talking about, hey, you can have like a support the team night and have the live streams on the TVs, stuff like
That'd be
that. There's a
cool.
lot of yeah, there's a lot of like creative solutions you can try and come up with. Um, but yours is also a product. The ROI for my races is your product is something I can mention to other people in the paddock and
Yeah.
try and sell them on, right? Um, if you've got plenty of clients now that love it all the way down in Brazil and all over the place, so I
Yeah, we
can't see
do.
why other racers wouldn't be interested in a similar system
For sure.
to promote themselves or promote their business or promote their sponsors. Plus, everyone likes to look cool. And the honestly, what we've used it for more, like you and I, in
Yeah.
when we were in VIR, is keeping track of the car, see how everyone's doing. other drivers in an endurance race can be seeing the body language of cars to know who's a hazard out there. You don't need as long of a debrief when you're switching drivers.
Yeah,
It's a great
you can get up to
debriefing
speed.
tool.
That's a good point. Great point
Yeah.
for sure.
And if you've not driven a track, I didn't get a lot of practice before the 24 hours of VIR because we needed to
Hmm.
change the brake rotors. I think I did two
We did.
laps of terrifying
Well, you and I both
generating
drove. Yeah,
maneuvering.
you and I both drove that car with the rotors and, as they were shaking, and the car
Yeah.
not stopping. Yeah.
But then we could watch other people's onboards and be, okay, yeah, it goes this way. Yeah, okay, I remember. It's a good reminder just before you get in the car if you're watching your own live stream. So yeah, so selling the product. So getting sponsorship, I guess it's like being I guess it's like being 5'7" at the dance. Be
Yeah.
prepared for rejection, but you got to shoot your shot.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's very valid. Good advice.
Yeah.
How do you play? How do you see like social media playing into your advertisement for your team or for your sponsors? Is it like, because one thing that Claire and I were talking about before we sat down and started chit chatting was that we looked at your Instagram account for the racing team and we were like, holy smokes, they have like whatever 1,000+ followers. Like you have like a significant amount relative to the, I would say, the average person out there.
Mhm.
And then we're like, that's really cool. How do they do it? Because with My Races Live, we also obviously are trying to grow kind of like a social media following. For us, obviously, it's advertising a business. For you, it's a racing team, which is kind of like a business to some extent.
Mhm.
So yeah, how do you emphasize and prioritize your time in making sure that you are on top of things from a social media perspective? And then maybe B, what would be your biggest advice to people in growing a social media following, if you have any advice there?
Mhm.
Not being selfish at all, not looking for your secrets at all whatsoever.
It's all right. I guess it's just have something interesting. I'm not very good at the social media piece. I'm really
No.
not.
Okay.
It's never my priority, and
Right.
but I try to stick to a schedule. So like I get a reminder on my phone, like, hey, do a post about the crew, do a post about a sponsor,
Okay.
and then I've kind of got the day to get that sorted out, and put it out there. Um, a lot of like if you're doing a series like Super Production, they're very active on social media, so they're
Hmm.
sharing a lot of stories and stuff it takes 2 seconds. Just share the story, tag some people, tag your sponsors,
Hmm.
and send it. Um, I'm getting better. Sarah's really good at it, so I'm getting better at learning how to make reels and stuff. But I guess to grow your following, I link the TFG Instagram to my personal and to my personal Facebook, and
Okay.
I have the benefit of having done 2 years of my career where I was running the Canadian Armed Forces parachute team,
Okay.
the Skyhawks. So I got a lot of followers from that, that have still kind of follow what I'm doing and find it interesting. I mean, racing's cool, right? I think it's trying to find a way to engage people with it. And I'm really not your guy, but
Yeah.
you can track your like in the business Instagrams, you can
Yeah.
track like people's engagement with stuff, and I guess just do more of what works and less
What
of what
works? Yeah.
doesn't.
That's fair. That's fair. Cool. I think we'll probably wrap it up here. We always give you the opportunity to kind of like thank any sponsors, anybody who's helped you out, anything you want to get out there. You kind of have the last words are all yours, basically.
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to thank our sponsors. So Tierney Farms, Watson Bain, Signs and Designs, My Races Live, and Six Sense Gearworks, for all their work, as well as Great Hires HR out of the US, for all their support, in getting us in a position to be able to start this season. Um, I'd like to thank Super Production Challenge for
Mm-hmm.
continuing to exist. No,
Yes.
for the hard work they've put in. They put together a really good season. The haul out to Halifax is going to be a long one, but Canada suffers a lot from a national championship that takes place often at the same track 2 or 3 times a year. They've made a concerted effort. 5 different racetracks and some really cool names. You've got Mosport, Mont Tremblant. Which how long are we going to be able to continue racing there? It's
Yep.
hard to say.
Yep.
Um, the Grand Prix Trois-Rivières, so the street race
Which is
in
awesome to watch, by the
Trois-Rivières,
way. Yeah, highly
one of
recommend
the
anybody
biggest,
who.
the
Yeah,
oldest street race in North America. It's older than Long Beach.
did not
Um,
know that.
Yeah, about 100,000 spectators, driver parades, like they go all out. The town loves
That's
it.
cool. Yeah.
Um, and then Calabogie, which is just a stunning track, and you know, it's good time. It's near the end of the season, so you can chew up all your tires. Um, yeah, and then Atlantic Motorsport Park, which coming online, going three provinces is not bad for a national series in this country.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
awesome.
and I guess the final word of thanks, I'd like to thank Sarah, Hunter, Matt, and Markelli for joining me on this crazy jersey, and all their support over the last months and future support coming in. So
Awesome,
yeah,
man. Thank you very much. Yeah, but we look forward to watching you. Obviously, you said like you're on track this weekend.
yeah,
Hopefully, we'll get to see some live streams. I know we're going to test that out at, is it at CMP this weekend? Oh, CTMP, sorry.
CTMP.
Yeah, well, CTMP this weekend. Yeah, so hopefully we get to watch some of you guys live in car. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast. That was awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries.